Hi guys, and welcome back to Run Stretch Succeed here. And today I'm on my recovery run, so it's a very slow run. And I was thinking, what video could I do? And I thought, what would I want to know when I was booking my first ultra? Because I just chucked myself in there and I really wish I knew some things. So I'm going to go through the things what I would want to tell myself when I first started ultra running and booking my first race. So let's get straight into the video, and if you've not hit subscribe yet, hit that subscribe and come and join me on my ultra running journey. First thing I feel people choose when choosing the first ultra is the distance. I feel like most people would go for a 50k, 30 mile, 40 mile at the most, but if you're like me, you will jump in at the deep end at like 50 miles, 100. I feel like we all need to think, can we do enough training to meet the minimum? When you go over a marathon with training, it gets kind of deep. It means you might DNF like quite easily. So if we can only train 30 miles a week, because that's how much time we have, is 30 miles a week enough for that? I feel like we really need to think this, because if you're like me, you book first and think about training after. So I feel like a sensible thing to do would be think about how much time you have to train with your lifestyle, kids, your job, and then think about, is there enough time to do the minimum training for this race, and enough time before the race, I guess, that you're not booking a 100 miler in 2 weeks time when you've only ran a marathon and only trained up to a marathon distance. So really think, do you have the time to do the minimum training? And if you can get that extra training in, that is amazing. You'll be over prepared. So just think, can you do the minimum? Okay, after you've thought about that and picked a race, have a look at this race's terrain. Is it road? Is it trail? It could be... terrain can mean anything. It can be man-made paths on the canal, it could mean farmers' fields, it could mean rocky, stony floor, or it could literally mean like cliffs and going up massive boulders, what can be very slippy at times. So look at the terrain, look where it is. Also with terrain, look what season it is. It could literally change a whole race, especially with trail. If it's dry, this what I'm walking on now would be quite soft, dry, flaky mud. But at the moment, because it's raining, it's really sludgy, slippy. So look at the season and how the terrain for that race. Running through sludge is a lot harder than running through just like dry mud. Like, it's so much harder, it can take so much more energy, so much more tone on your muscle. So that is something to take into consideration when booking a race, especially if you're not used to running through muddy conditions. It can really make a difference. Next thing, are you ready for the conditions? What I mean by conditions is, are you ready to be warm, cold, wet, really dry, sunstroke? Hopefully not sunstroke, but it could happen. Like, I'm a person who doesn't adapt to the sun very well, so cold conditions tend to be a lot better than me. Cold conditions tend to be a lot better for me, but if I'm in shade when it's sunny, I can adapt that. So think about the conditions you're going to be in. Like, if you're entering something like the Spine, it's up hills and it's really snowy and icy there, as where I was living, it was quite sunny to be fair, and people was literally coming in with like ice moustaches on the face. I'll actually put a picture up here. Or is it really open and really sunny at that time of season? Can't predict the weather, but if it's really sunny that time of season, you can generally tell it could be really warm. And if it's really uncovered, obviously that is something you can take in consideration. So I'm a bit lost now because they're filming a film, so I've had to go down a path I've never knew existed, because it's the only way I can go. So that's why I look a bit clueless. They are filming a BBC documentary. I'll put the name down below. So the next thing I want you to think about is elevation. And elevation isn't just hills and not hills. And if you've only ever done road marathons, what are really flat like Manchester marathons, I did the lap and I was absolutely out of my water. Like, my legs were screaming by the end of it. What made me realise I need to do a lot more hill training. But elevation could just be one big hill where you can walk up and run down the other side. Or elevation could be a path like this where it's constantly slightly up and down, and that might be worse for you than a massive hill because you won't know when to walk or when to run. You'll just be guessing it, and you don't know what elevation you're on. As if there is one massive hill in the race, you can be like, I'll just walk this one hill for like an hour and then you're over it. And if you enjoy downhill, you can make the time back up on the downhill. Elevation isn't just massive or not massive, it can just be constantly up and down, and that is something to think about when you're booking the race. They always have an elevation map. Well, most of the time they have an elevation map, so go and have a look at it and just think overall what it looks like, and maybe even ask someone. It is a bit hard to tell how much 20,000 feet in elevation is, but ask someone or look at reviews of the races. Or you could have a look at YouTube channels like mine or other people's, but I really think you should hit that subscribe button right now on mine. But of course, it is totally up to you. Do you run in the dark on that race? Because running in the dark is so different when it can be very lonely and very demotivating, but also it can be very calming depending how you like it, and it can be very intimidating and a bit scary, to be honest. I quite like it, but I can imagine a lot of people really disliking it. Obviously, if it's a 50-mile race, depending on the season, I guess, or the month, it might not be in the dark because it might just not go dark, or depending what time you start the race. But are you ready to run in the dark, or will you get to that point and be scared and want to DNF? But also, you can train this. You can run an hour in the dark every couple of nights just to get used to it and see how you feel, or you can just run in the dark and see how you feel. You can also run in the dark before you book the race to see how you feel. More likely, also remember, you're more likely not to be in a local area near you, so that might be very off-putting and very different as well. So keep that in mind when booking your race. How are you going to get to that start line? Some of these races can be like hundreds of miles away, can take you a long time to travel. And how are you going to get there? Public transport? Is someone going to give you a lift? Is someone going to drive you there? Are you going to drive yourself? These are all options, but obviously you want to be well rested for your race. Will you need to get a hotel for like 2 days, 1 day? You will have to be well rested. These are all things to think about. How are you going to get there? How long it's going to take you to get there? And other stuff like that. So just keep that in mind when booking a race and check your transport. Also, when thinking about this, have you got the skill level? Obviously you can learn this while you're training, but also have you got the base skill level? Some races are unmapped and some races are really hard to orienteer, and also sometimes GPS can just be hard to work and not make sense. It tried to make me go across the canal once. Also, because I didn't know how to map read or how to just follow the signage, because ultras sometimes it's just a bit harder, I went 10 miles extra and DNF'd. It's okay to DNF. It learnt me that I needed to learn how to map read and work GPS and not always believe that GPS is right. Also, it could be something like if it's really hilly and got loads of elevation, have you used running poles? This is something you could learn in a couple of weeks, but this is something to take on board. Is there a skill in this race what will really help you to exceed on the day? Or it could even make you DNF if you didn't have that skill. Really think about this. And there is nothing wrong to feel like you need to learn a skill or that you're not skilled enough for something. This is not about it being hard. This is about knowing something and wanting to learn something. So I hope this doesn't sound offensive. It's just something I've learned that I needed to learn to do some ultras, and that made me learn how to do stuff and helped me on my way, and has made my journey. It's absolutely amazing how many skills I've learned. Never in my life did I ever think I would use a map, never mind be able to read a map. And I learned that on my own. I didn't even do a course. I might not be the best at it, but I can do it to a basic level, what is amazing. So guys, I guess that's it for today's video. Did you like my tips? Did you think it was useful? Have you got any tips of your own? Because I'm assuming I've missed some off. So if you've got any, put it in the comments below. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button. Come and join us. Come and join me on my running journey. I've got some amazing news. I've got races coming up in the next coming week. I've actually got millions. I've got like 6 races in the next 2 months, but I'll be vlogging them all and you can come along with me. So if you want to see them, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, just give it a like as well. And I guess guys, I will see you next week.